A child reminds us that playtime is an essential part of our daily routine.
Good day to each and everyone. I am Razi R. Suerte, a first-year student at the University of Mindanao, studying Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Biological Science.
And I am Erica C. Villagracia, a first-year student studying BS Ed, major in Biological Science. And we are the Group H.
So today we are going to talk about early childhood development, specifically the physical development of preschoolers.
Before I am going to start my discussion, which is the physical development of preschoolers, let's define what is physical development first. So the physical development part focuses on examining the ways in which the body makes up. The preschooler years is commonly known as the years before formal schooling begins. It roughly covers 3 to 5 years of age. Now, let's proceed to the big ideas about the physical development of preschoolers. So there are 6 big ideas about our topic today. First is, there are significant changes in physical growth of preschoolers. The physical growth increases, but slower in pace than in infancy and toddlerhood. Preschoolers have their center of gravity at a lower level that gives them more ability to be stable and balanced than toddler. By the time the child reaches 3 years old, all primary and deciduous teeth are already in place. Second is the preschooler's physical development is marked by the acquisition of gross and fine motor skills. So there are 2 motor skills of development. First is gross motor development. It refers to acquiring skills that involve the large muscles. It includes the locomotor skills, non-locomotor skills, and manipulative skills. Second is the fine motor development. It refers to acquiring the ability to use the smaller muscles in the arm, hands, and fingers purposefully. Third is preschoolers can express themselves artistically at a very early age. At the heart of the preschooler years is their interest to draw and make other forms of artistic expressions. This form of fine motor skills is relevant to preschoolers. In Victor Lowenfield's stages of drawing in early childhood, it includes the stage 1, scribbling stage, the stage 2, pre-schematic stage, and the stage 3, the schematic stage. So it is important to remember that the preschooler's representations or drawings does not only involve fine motor skills, but also cognitive skills. Those 3 big ideas about the physical development of preschoolers that I discussed earlier is just an introduction. We will going to elaborate it later on, so just keep on watching. Fourth is the proper nutrition and the right amount of sleep are very important for the preschoolers. So the kind of nutrients a preschooler gets has far-reaching effect on his physical growth and development. The preschooler's nutritional status is the result of what nutrients he or she actually takes and checked against the nutritional requirement for his or her age. Obviously, having too much or too little both negative effects. It is important for preschoolers to get sufficient amount of rest and sleep. Preschoolers benefit from about 10 to 12 hours if sleep each day. It is when they are asleep that vital biological process that affect physical and cognitive development take place. During sleep, especially in the dream state, growth hormones are released. Blood supply to the muscles are likewise increased, helping preschoolers regain energy. At this state while dreaming, increased brain activity is also attained. Fifth is caregivers and teachers can do a lot in maximizing the growth and development of preschoolers. Optimal physical development of preschoolers is largely influenced by the supportive caregivers, which is the parents and teachers, who provide a stimulating environment and appropriate activities for the children's development. So it emphasizes that caregivers and teachers plays a vital role in the growth and development of preschoolers. Children who do not experience the nurturing care necessary to enable their capacities to flourish are less healthy, grow poorly, learn less, and complete fewer grades at school, and also are more likely to have difficulties relating confidently to others and earn less as adults. And lastly, preschoolers with special needs in inclusive classrooms can thrive well with the appropriate adaptations made in the classrooms, materials, and activities. So each children is unique, and every child can learn. As a future teacher, we need to know how important it is to plan teaching strategies and activities that match young children's developmental needs and characteristics. Children with a learning disability, speech or language disorder, hearing or visual impairment, physical disability, autism spectrum disorder or ASD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or the ADHD, or other type of impairment may need special accommodations or modifications in the classrooms. One of the best ways you can support children with special needs is by changing the classroom environment to increase children's participation in activities.
So hi guys, today we are going to talk about the significant changes in physical growth of a preschooler. So physical growth accelerates during the preschool years, albeit in a much more slower rate than they were toddlers or during the infancy. So preschoolers begin to move at about the age of 3, and the remaining baby-like characteristics of a toddler moves toward a much more slender appearance of a child when they reach the preschool year. So during the preschool years, there's a steady increase in children's height, the weight, and the muscle tone or the overall muscles in the body. So compared with toddlers, the preschoolers are longer in terms of body length, of course, and much more leaner because of the changes in the muscle tone. So their legs and trunks continue to grow, meaning to say that the lower body extremities of a preschooler develops more than the upper part of the body. So and their heads are not so large in proportion to their bodies. So as preschoolers develop, bodies develop over time, the areas in their brain that control movement continue to mature too, thus enabling them to perform gross motor skills unlike when they were toddlers. So the development of their body also explains why they are able to perform gross motor skills. It is because of the changes in the center of gravity of a child. So when a child is still a toddler, they have a high center of gravity, meaning to say that their center of gravity or their center of balance is in the upper extremities, such as the chest or the leg, such as the chest or the neck rather. So it's because a toddler have a high center of gravity is because this is to support the head of a toddler for the reason that it is much more larger in proportion to their body. But preschoolers, on the other hand, had their center of gravity, had their center of balance in the middle part of their body, specifically in the near belly button. So as I said, the development of the preschooler physical attributes are much more apparent in the lower body or the lower extremities. So this allows them to be more solid and balanced than a toddler. So this makes that a preschooler is much more harder to tumble than a toddler. So to demonstrate that, we have here a mineral water. So let's just say this is a toddler. So as I said earlier, the toddler has a high center of gravity, meaning to say that their balance is here because they have larger head or larger upper extremity than their body. So let's just say this is the body. So when I balance it here, It's easier to stumble without assistance. But when a kid reaches the preschooler year, so let's just say this is a preschooler kid. So when it reaches the preschooler year, their lower body develops more. It becomes more leaner. So their center of gravity is around here. Meaning to say that they are much more harder to stumble than they were at toddler. So the motor skills that are apparent in preschoolers are running, jumping, throwing, climbing, kicking, skipping, and fine motor skills such as stringing beads, drawing, and cutting scissors. So when you have a preschooler, or when you are encountering a preschooler kid, or at least preschooler age or stage, it is apparent, or it is noticeable to them that they are playful, very playful, and much more reliant on themselves rather than relying on others. So it's the beginning of them becoming more self-sufficient. So as much as their cognitive ability develop, the preschool years appears to be a time of continual development. Preschoolers are constantly moving in their environs, both inside and the outside. As I said, they spend a lot of time running, climbing, jumping, and chasing each other, or playing with one another, and as well as their artistic development also grows, like scribbling, painting, building, pouring, cutting with scissors, putting puzzles together, and stringing beads. So in general, their motor abilities have substantially improved since they were toddlers, and they are more synchronized and purposeful in their actions than they were toddlers. And also, they display speed and strength, and they became more self-sufficient. So, preschoolers' physical developmental milestones. So, according to the Center of Disease and Control Prevention, developmental milestones are guidelines to help us understand and identify typical patterns of development in children and help us know when and what to look for as the children matures. So the movement and physical developmental milestone in preschool at the age of 3 are they can climb well. So it's very observable if you have a preschooler age of 3 at your home. They love climbing things, really they love it. And second, they can run easily. It's because their trunks and their legs are much more developed now. So they can pedal tricycle, they can walk up and downstairs on one foot each step, and they can wash and dry his hands. So at the age of 4, they can now hop and stand on one foot up to 2 seconds. They can pour, cut with supervision, and mash his own food. They can catch a bounce ball most of the time, and they can draw with 2 to 4 body parts, and they can use scissors now. So at the age of 5, they can stand on one foot for 10 seconds or longer. They can hop and may be able to skip. They can do a somersault. They can use fork and spoon and sometimes a table knife. And lastly, they can swing and climb. So it's important for us to know this, or it's important for us to have knowledge about these milestones. It's because to meet children's needs and to help all children grow and learn to their potential. So it's very important for us to know these milestones. So influences on physical growth. So physical development requires more than simply being taller, stronger, or larger. So it entails a series of adjustments to body size, the composition and proportion. Physical growth and development are also influenced by biological and environmental factors. And in this slide, we will look at the elements that influences young children's physical growth. So first influence is the brain development. So even though the motor skills and abilities in preschools emerge as a result of a physical growth and development, many new motor skills are also a result of brain growth. So in other words, the movement involves not just simply using our arms and using our legs. So it involves also our brain. So example, think of a preschooler. So a preschooler is playing with a ball and kicking it back and forth, especially with a caregiver or playing with a peer. So being able to kick the ball or being able to play or do this task can be attributed not only to the motor skill or not only to the skill mastery, and development of a child, but also to the brain's ability to organize visual and auditory messages that could help a kid or guide a child to help and make decisions, such as adjusting the movement of their legs on how soft or hard they are going to kick the ball, and waiting if needed and kicking of the ball back accordingly. So this influence is very important to, as a family or child care provider, that you enhance the children's brain development or engage the children in meaningful interactions with the environment, and create understandings about how the thing works, how things are done, and how to treat others, and how to deal with emotions, and how to go about their daily activities. Ultimately, in doing so, you may help a children or you will help the children improve existing skills and acquire new ones. So the second influence is heredity. So genetic inheritance plays a significant part in children's physical growth, because heredity influences several factors that contributes to our physical development, such as our body size, our muscle fiber composition. Whether we are tall or short, it is determined by our heredity. So the third is nutrition. So in order to reach a physical growth and development, especially at times when brains and bodies are developing so rapidly, young children requires healthy and balanced diets that provides vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients. So as a child care provider, or if you are ever interacting with a child, you may serve as a role model for them by promoting healthy habits such as eating vegetables, sleeping early, such as that. So cultural differences. So despite the universal patterns in child development, there are variations such as how children develop motor skills. So this is the environmental factor of the physical development. So children's environment, places of origin, and particular life circumstance can affect how they develop and master motor skills. So it's important for us to know the physical development or the significant changes in physical growth. It's because learning about and understanding how preschoolers use their bodies will help us know how to support them in developing their motor skills, and will also help us decide what kinds of learning experiences to plan. So we must keep in mind that each child is different, and that we may have to adapt routines and activities to meet children's unique needs.
Now, let's proceed to gross and fine motor development. Motor skills can be divided into two types, which is the fine and gross motor skills. So motor skills are motions carried out when the brain, nervous system, and muscles work together. Our motor skills start developing from head to toe since we are babies. So as babies grow, they develop movement and better control in the upper part of the body.
What is gross motor development?
Gross motor development refers to acquiring skills that involve the large muscles. So the gross motor development, this is when the children learn to make movement with all of their muscles. In early childhood, it is the development of these muscles that enable the baby to hold his or her head up, to sit, to crawl, and eventually to walk, run, and skip.
These gross motor skills are categorized into three: the locomotor skills, non-locomotor skills, and manipulative skills.
Locomotor skills are those that involve going from one place to another. So locomotor skills incorporates traveling like walking, running, climbing, skipping, hopping, creeping, galloping, and dodging. All of these locomotor movements take you to different places. Non-locomotor skills are those where the child stays in place like bending, stretching, turning, swaying, flexing, lifting, raising, and swinging. So the non-locomotor skills do not incorporate traveling unlike the locomotor skills. But take note that the non-locomotor skills often accompany by the locomotor skills. One of the example for this is when a child swing their arms while jogging and bend their knees in order to jump. In conclusion, if you move to another place, it is the locomotor. And if you stay in the same place, it is non-locomotor skills. Manipulative skills are those that involve projecting and receiving objects. So it is all about when the child making certain movements to apply force in order to move objects, like throwing, striking, bouncing, catching, and dribbling. Preschoolers are generally physically active. So when the preschoolers gets older, their level of activity becomes a little less. But when the preschoolers is like around 3, their level of activity is highest. So preschoolers should be provided with a variety of appropriate activities which will allow them to use their large muscles.
The following are the activities to improve the gross motor skills of a preschoolers. Trampolines. Using a trampoline is a great activity to improve balance. It can also be part of a sensory diet. Hopscotch. Hopping and jumping require strong gross motor skills, balance, and coordination. Martial arts classes. Martial arts training is a good way to help kids develop strength in their arms and legs. Playground play. Playing on the playground can have many benefits for kids. Swinging on a swing set can help kids develop balance. Balloon and bubble play. Balloons and bubbles are a unique way to build gross motor skills because you can predict where they are going to go. Kids can chase bubbles and try to pop as many as possible. Tricycles, scooters, and pedal cars. Some kids who struggle with gross motor skills may learn to ride a trike or bike later than their peers. Dancing. Whether it's a dance class or an indoor dance party, dancing is a good gross motor practice. It helps kids develop balance, coordination, and motor sequencing skills.
So the regular physical activity helps preschoolers build and maintain healthy bones, muscles, and joints, control weight, and build lean muscles. And also, it can prevent or delay hypertension, reduce feelings of depression and anxiety, and also increase capacity for learning. Now, let's proceed to fine motor development. So the fine motor development refers to acquiring the ability to use the smaller muscles in the arm, hands, and fingers purposefully. So the children start to use their hands right at birth to explore their own bodies and the world around them. Their fine motor skills develop as their whole body starts to move and become more stable. Fine motor skills are especially crucial. However, because the ability to use the smaller muscles in the hands, it allows the children to perform tasks such as speaking, squeezing, pounding and opening things, and also holding and using a writing implement. It also involves self-help skills like using the spoon and fork when eating, buttoning, zipping, combing, and brushing.
By the end of the preschool years, most children manage to hold a pencil with their thumb and fingers, draw pictures, write letters, use scissors, do stringing and threading activities, helping with meals, play doh activities, using kitchen tongs, tweezers or pegs, building blocks and Lego bricks, and also sand and water play.
Significant progress in fine motor skills can be expected of preschoolers, especially if they are aptly supported and appropriate activities are provided for them. Handedness, or the preference of the use of one hand over the other, is usually established around 4 years of age. Earlier than this, preschoolers can be observed to do tasks using their hands interchangeably. We can observe a preschooler shifting the crayon from left to right and back again while working on a coloring activity.
Guys, at this slide, we're going to talk about the artistic development of a preschooler and the stages of artistic development by Victor Lowenfeld. So, during preschool years, child shows tremendous growth in their artistic development, partly because they are now more in control of their movements, such as hand and wrist movements, allowing them to create artistic expression. So the stages of artistic development is made up of 3 stages. First is the scribble stage, second is the pre-schematic stage, and the third is the schematic stage. So at the scribble stage, the child can only create unrecognizable forms and objects. So it is divided into 4 sub-stages. First is the disordered, second is the longitudinal, third is the circular, and fourth is the naming. First is the disordered. At this stage, the child has little to no control over its motor activity. That is why it can only create uncontrolled markings such as this. So second, the longitudinal. So at this stage, the child demonstrates visual awareness and enjoyment over moving certain parts of his or her body. So at this stage, the child can create artistic form, which is controlled repetitions of motions such as this, repeating lines. So third is the circular. So at this stage, the child demonstrates the ability to do more complex forms, and they can create circular drawing. So the last sub-stage is the naming stage. So at this stage, the child can now tell stories about the scribble that they made. So at this stage, the child's ability to visualize picture is already developing. So the second stage of Victor Lowenfeld's stage of artistic development is the pre-schematic stage. So at the pre-schematic stage, the schema or the visual idea of the child is developed. So during this stage, the child can create artistic expression that appears to be or suggests that it is a human or animal figure. So the drawing shows that what the child perceives as most important about the subject. So still, there's little understanding of space, and objects are placed in a haphazard way throughout the picture, and the use of the color is more unemotional rather than the logical. So the third stage is the schematic stage. So at this stage, it can be easily recognized. It's because the child can now demonstrate the awareness of the concept of space. So objects in the drawing have relationship to what is up and what is down, and the child can now create a definite base and a skyline. So unlike the pre-schematic stage where the color is more of the emotional than the logical, the color in the schematic stage are reflected as they appear in nature. So during this stage, exaggeration between figures is often used to express strong feelings about a subject. So when I say exaggeration between figures, sometimes in the drawing of a child at the schematic stage, humans are taller than house, flowers are larger than human beings. So I guess that's it about our report. Again, I'm Rav C.R. Suerte, and thank you for listening, everyone.
We do hope that you learned a lot from our report, which is the physical development of preschoolers. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and have a good day.